Okay, so I'm live. Hi, I'm Georgia Rose from Zenkuda. Thank you for joining me on my Thursday evening podcast. As you can see, I'm not back in the studio yet, so we don't have a live phone line tonight, but we will shortly, probably another couple of weeks. And you can actually type your comments in live on the Facebook pages, and I will answer. So I hope everybody's having a good week. As you know, I just have to do a little housekeeping and share the show, because I don't have my engineer Sally, although great news, Sally's going to come on Gov's Comedy Club radio after me tonight. Her and Tony are on at 7:45. They've got some special announcements, so you do not want to miss Sally and Tony's show. So if you just give me a few minutes, I'm going to find everybody on here so I can read your comments and say hello. There I am. Okay. And I'm just going to share the show. I want to give you guys all a chance to come on and join us. Here we go. I got Lauren. I got a bunch of people here. And I'm going to start the show in 2 seconds. I can't wait to be back in the studio. I know I say that every week, right? But I really can't. It's just been really, I miss my guests. I miss everybody so much. And I miss that live, the live phone call. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Always have technical difficulties, don't we? Sorry for the dead air, guys, but we got a big show coming, so just hang on. Here we are. Post, and here I am coming back into you guys. Okay, so it has been very crazy energy, and I use crazy in a good way. I hope that you're all finding some kind of calm and relaxation with the amount of energy that we have out there. I want to talk a little bit tonight about how to process that, as well as what we can expect next and what's going to be coming around. I will say that I never like to be the bearer of bad news, and I don't like to think of news as bad or good, just the news. But what I am seeing when I look at the astrology for the next week, 2 weeks, into the end of June, beginning of July, is we're going to have a lot more energy, similar to the energy that we've been having, but a little bit even more intense. So I want to talk about that tonight. So hi Janine, hi Marianne, hi John. I have a bunch of people on. I'm not going to have time to say hello to everybody, I don't think, but you wave if you can. And I want everyone to kind of give me comments tonight, really make this interactive, because I need your feedback to feed my energy. So I did a lot of research on my astrology. I actually even had a channeled message come in the other afternoon. To give you a little background on myself, for those of you tuning in for the first time, my name is Georgia Rose. I am a psychic intuitive. I am an astrologer, and I am also a psychic medium. I like to think of myself as just an inspirational being, and hopefully I can inspire you guys all tonight. So hi Elaine, Elaine Giordano, awesome tarot reader. So it's obvious that there's a lot going on in the universe, and when I look at the astrology, I really feel an ignition point for a lot of this energy for us, the quick, unthinkable happenings that are going on A lot of it started back in January with an ignition point of, you guys heard me talk a lot about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. And a conjunction is when two planets meet in the sky around the same area. And what happens is they create an energy within each other, and the planet's energy becomes amplified because, everyone has a magnetic field and electricity and all kinds of things that come from the planet and spiritual energy. The planets all hold the spiritual energy. They are living, breathing things. So when they aspect each other or come close or far apart from each other or square each other or trine each other in a triangle formation, it all brings us different energy. And we had a very impactful transit at the beginning of this year when we kicked off 2020 with the Saturn and Pluto planets coming together, and then Jupiter coming alongside them. And that energy was an energy that was foreboding of structures coming down, a new world order being in place. We were going to be seeing things really change as far as what we know as our structures and constructs throughout the course of our life. And that certainly has happened. But the reason why this energy is not going to let up is because we have a tremendous amount of planets in retrograde. And when I say tremendous amount of planets in retrograde, Mercury went retrograde yesterday, and the end of June we have 6 planets in retrograde. That's almost all the major planets. And retrograde is when energy slows down, or we call stations in the beginning of a retrograde, because the planet actually slows so much it appears to be standing still. Mercury is doing that today for any of you that had computer glitches or things that were, a little bit temperamental. So when we talk about the planet energy and the planets coming together to form different aspects, we have an aspect that was ignited in January through this Pluto-Saturn conjunction. And all of these planets in retrograde keep touching that ignition point. When a planet is retrograde, it touches a point 3 times because it starts out stationary and begins to slow up. So it isn't actually going backwards, but the other planets are moving more quickly than it is. So it appears to go backwards because the world is on its revolution, its rotation. So that planet that's retrograde will start at a certain point, and then everything moves forward at a faster pace than it does. So it's going to repeat that point because it goes, as everything spins faster, it kind of slows down and goes back, and then when it starts to go forward, it's going to pass that point again, and then back again when it stations again, so back where it started. So that's why things come in 3s. And we're on the second ignition point of the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. The next one happens around November 12th. This happens in connection with the summer solstice, the new moon in Cancer, and other things that are going on. So there's such a whirlpool and such dramatic energy in the world, which I'm going to explain for you tonight, such dramatic energy in the world that it's being acted out on the world stage almost as though it's a ring of fire. It's a blazing fire that's just going to grow worse before it gets better. And there is spiritual reasons why this is happening that are good, that is all for the good. But when I first went into a meditation about the energy and about the summer solstice and the eclipse that's happening on the solstice, as if we don't have enough energy coming in this Saturday, this weekend, we also have an eclipse coming in, which makes it extremely powerful. When I went to a meditation about this energy, I felt the planet Mars very heavily. I felt the energy of Mars really igniting, almost like, a line of fire, just someone putting a stick of dynamite towards it and going. I felt hot, molten, rapid energy. I felt connected to the ancients. For some reason, drumming came in very, very profoundly for me, like we need to drum. Any of us who have a ceremonial drum or like to drum, this weekend during the eclipse and the solstice, I would go outdoors and drum somehow and really allow that energy to bring energy out of me and allow myself to resonate with those rhythms, whatever they are. If anyone wants to get together a drum circle, let me know, I'll attend. I toyed with the idea of doing a solstice event at the beach or something, and I wasn't called to do it. I'm called to participate in one if someone else initiates it, but I'm not supposed to initiate one. So this energy is like a bonfire that flares like the fire starter. And the reason for that is that Mars is going to move into Aries a couple of days after the the solar eclipse and the summer solstice. The solstice and the eclipse happen on Saturday. We're not going to be able to see the eclipse where we are. It's a solar eclipse, which means the moon goes in front of the sun. We're not going to be able to see it here in the northeast of the United States, or anywhere, I don't think, in the United States, because it does happen in the middle of the night. It happens at like 2:43 in the morning on Saturday. So what is this solar eclipse? The solar eclipse is going to occur at the first degree of Cancer. That's where the sun and the moon both are. This first degree of Cancer, the moon is far away from the earth right now. It's not like when we have a supermoon and it's so close. It's the opposite now. It's further away. So when the moon passes in front of the sun, it won't fully hide it. It's going to have a ring around it, which you would find a solar ring. In other parts of the world where you can see the eclipse, even though it is a total eclipse of the sun, which historically, dating back to, before Christ, eclipses, and especially a solar eclipse, was very prominent. It was always said that the king would die during a solar eclipse because the one illumination goes in front of the other. So even in places where you can see it, you're not going to have an obscurity of the whole sun. There's going to be a ring of fire because the moon's too small to block the whole sun. What's the significance of this? Well, in my meditation the other day, Spirit told me the significance of this is that it's significant of the fact that we all have a light. We all have, you can call it a halo or a light, which originates in our soul and comes through the crown. And that we, as a species of humans right now, have forgotten to honor each other's light and honor each other's crown. So when we see the eclipse happen and we see that ring of fire in certain parts of the world, we can meditate on it here, even though we can't physically see it. Remember, that is significant of the light within all of us, a celebration of the light within all of us, and that we are supposed to honor that light within each other, which we don't do, which we're not doing right now. Many of us are, but some are not. And we see that acted out on the world stage. So there is a verse from Matthew 25, I think it is, that is, "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brother, that you do to me." And that is a phrase that Jesus gave to demonstrate the need for us to honor the light within each other. And I feel when you look at the news and you look at video on social media and you look at all the things happening in the world right now, it is quite obvious that a very large portion of our critical mass is forgetting to honor the light within each other. The reason why I bring this up in reference to the astrology is because I think that summer solstice and the eclipse happening exactly on a solstice is very significant of the celebration of light and the light within each of us that is connected to divinity, to creator. Whatever energy created us, put that within us as a connection for all. We're forgetting that. We're becoming very distracted about what's on the media. We're becoming angry. We're becoming frustrated. We're becoming lost in the idealism that we are right. And above all of it, above all of what man believes, is the universal belief that something created all of us in love, and we need to go back to that. And although it may sound Pollyanna or rainbows and lollipops, that's the core. That is the core of our existence. And I think this is a time where we're not meant to be rainbows and lollipops about it. We're meant to be hardcore about it. We're meant to really, really stand up for the conviction of love within each of us and the conviction of honoring the light within each of us and being those Zen kudas about it. And going into our soul space, letting the light emerge, and then honoring it within each of us. That's the only thing that's going to bring this country, bring this world back to the basic. So when you find yourself on media, you find yourself in conversation, you find yourself in fear or confrontation, discern that to be a wound within you, something within you that needs to come forward, and nurse it out. Let that wound be healed within you, not on the world stage, not in the conversation, not in the posting, but within you. And that gets to the point of this is the perfect storm. I'm going to go into the astrology a little bit more and show you what's going to be happening, but I have to backtrack a little bit to lead up to that. And as I just said, this started with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January. By March, we were all sequestered in our homes. Saturn and Pluto changing the world order. There were a lot of other aspects that came. But the perfect storm brought us a time when we had to come in and be in silence to nurse those wounds that I was just speaking about, to nurse the things that are preventing us to being the full version of ourselves. So we had this enforced silence. But there are people who are in denial about going into that. And that denial acts itself out in the violence that you're seeing. People are forgetting the conviction of what they're standing for, and they're just going into violence and wanting to be heard in some way. And they're forgetting the reason for it all, which is so that we can all come together closer in love. So this perfect storm was created for us to sit home, sit in our crap, so to speak, in order to clear it out, right? Some of us did that. Some of us, now that we're operating more in a normal, quote, new normal or improved normal, whatever you want to call it, have brought some of the things we learned about ourselves during that time forward and are making our lives better. Some of us are still in denial. And that denial is playing out right now in an aspect of astrology that's happening where Neptune and Mars are in Pisces together. Exactly conjunct, exactly together. Mars is our firepower. Mars is our aggression, it's our assertion. Mars is what gets you up in the morning and makes you want to get out of bed. Mars is that fire that just comes up from you and makes you say something you shouldn't have said. You're angry, you're not going to take it anymore. That's your Mars aggression. Mars is the warrior. In Pisces, it's the spiritual warrior. In Pisces with Neptune, it's the spiritual warrior in illusion. It's the spiritual warrior who has to stand up for something, but they're not quite sure what they're supposed to be standing up for. And this is just getting amped up and amped up and amped up as this eclipse, as this solstice comes, that first day of summer, the celebration of light. So we're faced with this perfect storm where the universe came in and gave us a bunch of circumstances that were meant for us to improve ourselves, look deep within. We have the opportunity to elevate ourselves and go to a higher level of equality and understanding and compassion for one another. But we've got all this bonfire running out of control with the planetary energy testing us, asking us, well, what do you really think? What do you really believe? Right? Well, what do you really believe? You're not going to know as long as Mars and Neptune are in the same place in Pisces. They've got to move. And guess what? June 25th, Mars goes into Aries. And it's another ignition point. So the solstice happens, that's the first day of summer, the celebration of light. It happens alongside an eclipse. It also happens as Saturn retrograding back into touching that spot of the Pluto-Saturn conjunction that we started in January. So now we're going to repeat a lot of energy. And we're going to repeat a lot of energy. And we're going to repeat a lot of energy. Mercury goes retrograde, goes back to where we were again. All these 6 planets in retrograde are going to repeat the energy and repeat the energy and repeat the energy. And why does it do that? It does that because the universe wants to see if we've learned from the last time we were there. What have we learned? What have you learned in your personal life to bring forward that the last time we were in this energy, you're not going to act the same way again? So that's what this is. And the reason why all these retrogrades are happening and why the universe is making us repeat the energy is because we don't have all the facts. Every time the energy repeats and goes back again, something else comes forward. But now, this next week into when Mars goes into Aries on the 25th, we've got some things that happen that really ignite a firestorm. And there's certain things, I'm not going to go too deep into astrology because unless you're studying astrology, you're not really going to understand. And I want this to be palatable for everybody. But when certain aspects happen in astrology, we can actually associate them with things that happen in history. For instance, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction that we're all talking about that happened in January and will happen again a few times as planets go back and forth. The last time that happened in Capricorn, which is where it's happening now, was in the late 1500s. What happened in the late 1500s? The Protestant Reformation. Protestant Reformation, right? That was when a whole new church was born, and the Catholic Church was not as powerful anymore. If that's not an overturning of structure, I don't know what is. It was also in the late 1500s, the amplification of slavery. It was in not just in the Americas, which weren't the Americas yet, but all over the world, slavery was at its highest in the late 1500s, mid to late 1500s. So when we look historically at astrology, we often see when planets return to a point, a critical point, energetic point, they complete a line of energy. So we're completing a line of energy now. We're completing that line of energy with slavery. We're completing that line of energy from ancestral trauma. And that's why this is all happening. So now, as we hit those ignition points again, Mercury's going to go retrograde in Cancer. That's going to make us deeply think about our security, our homes, our family. We're going to be very protective of our home and family. That can ignite something, in us. Mercury in Cancer, Mercury is our mind, is communication. When Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, it doesn't like to speak. We're going to find ourselves wanting to be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more silent. And that's also part of a grander plan because it wants us to listen. The universe wants us to listen. So question what you think you know. Try and whatever reference you're using for your point of understanding, for your opinions, for your convictions, for your beliefs, whatever point or facts you're using, try and reach out for a different data point. Try and reach out for a different fact. And I would actuate and facilitate that even in your personal life, from a project at work to a discussion with your spouse or partner or child. Like, try and actuate a different point of data than what you are only seeing. Because when Neptune and Mars come together, that Neptune energy, which is very powerful right now, puts us in illusion and makes us think we're right when we're probably not. It makes us think something's a good idea when it's probably not. It makes us not have all the facts, but think we do. So really important, if you want to ease up that confusion and you want confusion to come clear, you've got to reference different data points and then let them internalize within yourself. Hi, Joanne. Hi, David. So I think what happens now in the world is, I'm reading my notes, what happens now in the world is people are speaking a lot. People are posting a lot. Video, everything, from their heart, but they don't have all the data yet. There's a lot more that's going to be revealed. There's a lot more that's going to come out over this whole summer. This is going to be a summer for the history books. No one is in charge. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. If you're all looking to see who's in charge, no one's in charge, people. Nobody. Not the President of the United States, not the police, not any political group, not any social group. No one's in charge. There is no one in charge right now. I'm telling you that. You don't need to be psychic to know that. No one's in charge. No matter what you believe, it's scary. These are all facts. We can't keep trying to distract ourselves away from them. They're facts, and they're happening because of certain aspects with Neptune and Mars. They're happening because of Pluto and Saturn. They're happening because of all this stuff. So it's supposed to happen so that we do something. And what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to love unconditionally, compassionately, with non-judgment. Everything that's happening around us, as unthinkable as it is, we are supposed to absorb that so that we find our new point of data, point of reference. We're not going to be able to find what is new unless we absorb all the things that are happening around us. And I'm not saying absorb them to the point where you throw yourself into them and wallow in them and let them disturb your life to a point where you're non-functional. No, but I see so many things online about empaths, and I'm one myself, many of us are, and they're like, oh, I can't watch the news, I have to turn it off again. Yes, you do have to do that. You have to step away from all of that, but not ignore it. It is in our reality. When we ignore three-dimensional reality, we end up creating our own, and we don't have all the data. So in order for us to create our new reality, we have to look at the data. We have to look at what's going on in the world. We can't go like this. We can't. We can't do that. Censor it. Take in what you need to take in order to have the full effect of what's going on. There's a reason you were born during this time. There was a reason for that. Don't shut your eyes to it. It's supposed to bring us all somewhere. Listen to the inner voice. Stop, pray, meditate, create goodness in some way. You know, this week a bunch of friends and I helped a family get a pool that has a mom who's sick. So the kids had something to do. Like, do goodness on a local level. Find something and do goodness and love. So we've got this summer solstice come in. We've got this eclipse come in. A few days after that eclipse, we have Mars going into Aries. Mars has been in Pisces with Neptune. It's going to leave Neptune behind now and go into Aries, and things are going to seem clearer. But what that energy does somewhere around Wednesday, Thursday of this week coming up is it also makes people a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be fiery. It's going to be like shoot first, ask questions later. I hate to say that. But you don't have to respond to that energy. You know, we may have things happen around us. There's a lot more information that's going to come in as, you know, Venus now goes direct in Gemini. As Mercury goes retrograde, Venus pops out of her retrograde. And in Gemini, she's going to overload us with info. So we've got this beautiful celebration of light coming in. The moon obscures it, right? Light and dark, light and dark. We've got this running theme the whole year. Then we've got Mars leaving us from that Neptunian higher octave of spiritual divinity as well as illusion. It's our meditations, it's our astral travel, it's our psychic ability. Mars is going to pull away from that and go into a three-dimensional firestorm, so to speak. And as it does that, it creates confusion because some of it will be more clear. We're going to think we're clear, but it's not a confusion like Neptune. It's more of a confusion like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. We start to act out because now we're in fire. We're in a sign that's a cardinal sign. It's initiation of our emotions. When that happens, try and stay within. Try and use that Mercury being retrograde in Cancer energy to slow you down, because Mars in Aries is going to be like we got pushed out of a slingshot, and that's really not a good energy to go into unless you're using it for some form of good assertion. So stop, listen, have a willingness to feel, I guess is what I'm saying, because when we go into the denial, a lot of pent-up things happen, and I think that's what we're seeing out there, is people who've been in denial the last couple of months about being restricted, about not having freedom. And now they're going out and they want to keep that distraction and denial going, so they're doing all kinds of things. Intense days for July, beginning of July, like I would say from July 4th to the 8th are going to be very intense days. I'm probably going to stay close to home. But Neptune energy, even though Mars comes away from it, is playing a really big part here because it's going to keep igniting certain points over and over again. When Mars is conjuncting Neptune like it is now, before it moves into Aries on the 25th of June, it dissolves reality. It puts us in a predicament where we think we know, but we don't know. And so that's why whatever you're seeing on the news, whatever you're seeing taking place in your personal lives, give it a little bit of time. This is not the time to act on it. It's probably not the summer to act on it, even though we're going to be pushed in that direction. Our fear makes us fight. I think we're seeing a lot of that in the world. People are very fearful. Let's face it, when we go into things where we don't know what's real, what's true, who's in charge, we get scared. And when people are scared, and especially when it's a fear based in truth, based in something's really happening here, the truth of that, we want to create chaos. You know, the lower octave of our being is, if you've ever called anyone out on a lie, or even if it's a child, you found them doing something and you said, I know you did that, they immediately create chaos. Anyone caught in the truth creates chaos. So when someone doesn't want to face it, they create chaos, and we're seeing all that out there now. So Elaine, the energy where a lot of the info comes in is when Mercury is in Gemini retrograde, and that's now. But Venus goes direct, I believe, at the end of the month. I think on the 26th, 24th or 26th, around that time. Right when Mars goes into Aries. We're gonna feel like a real push. The energy at the end of this month, like from the 24th on, just in a few days, after this weekend's gonna be intense, but intense in a different way. This weekend's gonna be intense with confusion, non-reality. Eclipses are trigger points, so we may see something really happen on the world stage that's an unbelievable trigger point. But then afterwards, when we start to go into that last week of June, you're going to see the energy change, because when Mars goes into Aries, the energy really, really changes. And Mars goes into Aries on the 25th, on the 25th, at the same time Venus starts to go direct in Gemini. So it's like the Mars firepower comes in and the Venus info comes in. And it could be that that Gemini Venus info combined with the Mars and Aries, something comes out that ignites something, is what it's like. It could be something in your personal life. It could be, it could be something benign, depending on where your chart is. But in the chart of America, America is a Cancer. That didn't sound good. The United States of America, when you do their chart, the birth of the revolution, the birth of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, I should say, in revolutionary America. If you go back and do a chart for that, the United States of America is a Cancer, sign of Cancer. So this eclipse and the summer solstice is happening at the first degree of Cancer. And Mercury is retrograde in Cancer. So that information that we're getting is all to do with something in the country, definitely. Venus is retrograde in Gemini. I think that you're going to feel, if you've had energy, it could have worked a couple of different ways for Pisces. It could be that you have had very deep meditations. Your dreams, especially in the last few weeks, have probably been extremely vivid. And for most of us also. You're going to find that waning a little bit now, because Mars is going to move away from that Neptunian energy that's feeding that psychic ability for you. But you're always psychic anyway, Elaine. But it's definitely going to affect you in a refreshing kind of way. You're probably going to feel, if you felt like you were almost wanting to meditate too much or do psychic work too much, that's going to ease up a little bit for you now. But it's still, obviously, you're going to have the psychic ability. I'm going to just look and see if we have any other questions. Yeah, you can go to the stores and stuff, David. I think if they're open. Yeah, no one's in charge, so we try to protect ourselves. And I think what happens is, let's face it, human beings are very complex creatures, and we have higher octaves that we act out and lower octaves. And I think, there are many people who are feeling a high octave, and they're peacefully protesting something that they truly believe in their hearts, and that's beautiful. But there's also a large contingent of people who are going out and they're just making mischief and making violence. That's the lower octave of people who are panicking and not wanting to see the truth of where we're headed. And the truth where we're headed is life as we know it is going to cease to exist. I mean, it already has. Whether that's in our psyche or in our actual physical surroundings, we no longer have the freedoms we once did. And whether you want to think of that as political or just a symptom of the fact that now we're all afraid of germs, it's the truth. We're not going to feel as free as we ever did. You can get angry about that, or you can find a way to cope with it. It's just like if you are on a road trip and there's a big detour or there's a roadblock and you can't go that way. What are you going to do? Sit in front of it and cry for 3 years? No, you're going to find another way to get to your destination. So, we all kind of have to put on our big boys and girls panties and realize we've got to adapt, activate, and overcome. I wasn't going to go through what this means for the signs, but what I can tell you is, look on your chart for what Cancer is, where the sign of Cancer is in your chart. You will be affected greatly because the eclipse point and the solstice, Aaron, is an ignition point for all of us. So wherever that first degree of Cancer is in your chart, something will be ignited. like for instance, with me, it's the eighth house, which is transformation. So I'm already undergoing a very deep ascension, and I feel like it's going to get very intense this summer. Sometimes ascensions are painful, you know, but I'm putting on my boxing gloves. If you are a Capricorn, you've been going through huge structural changes, even if they're the way you perceive things to be. If you are a, the other thing I forgot to mention is that the north nodes, the nodes of the moon, are in Sagittarius and Gemini at 29 degrees. So this this where we're seeing the solstice and the eclipse is within 1 degree of that north node. That's another trigger point. It's a lot of trigger points. Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, because these points also can trigger some really great stuff. What's the higher octave of all this happening? The higher octave of all this happening is that we have a chance to create a utopia. I mean, think about it. If every person on the planet went into unconditional love and compassion right now, and that's the way we change the world, there's your utopia. That's what everybody deep down wants, right? We want equality for everyone. We want no violence. We want fairness. We want unconditional love. We all have a choice to put that out there and create it. And so anytime a structure is completely falling down, we have the opportunity to bring in that utopia. It's up to us if we want to do it. You know, I'm trying to do that in my own life and create a somewhat of a realistic bubble where I give back to my community and be trying to be really inspirational for myself in my own life, because just in the last couple of months, tremendous amount of things in my life have changed. I've changed my job. I've changed a lot of what I do here with my spiritual work. Relationships have changed. And I'm trying to use them as an opportunity. Are they painful? Of course. Every change is painful. We don't like to do it. But I think that we really have a chance. Anytime social structures are in chaos, we have a chance to create whatever we want. So let's create something great. Yeah, I also, this energy might make us very tired. I've been very tired, but eclipses always act on that way with me. And I wanted to say that, you know, I've talked a lot about Pluto this year and this Pluto-Saturn conjunction, and that's what's really the ignition point for all of this. And then what happens is we have these other ignition points that come. And it's like if this phone was energy, right? And then this rock is a planet, right? We've got these two things, right? And they're here, right? And they're, you know, circling the earth, doing their thing, right? And when they came together last January, this was an ignition, right? Boom, we've got some energy we got to deal with, okay? And then they keep rotating. As they rotate, they hit other planets and other things. Well, if they're rotating, all of a sudden they hit this candle, which is like the solstice and the eclipse, and this is a point of ignition to begin with. What's going to happen? It's going to be like, it's going to be sparks. And that's what this year has a lot of. It's all these ignition points. And so we're hitting another big one. Bottom line, what do I think this is going to happen? What do I think is going to happen? What do I think this is about? I think that what I feel in my body, what I feel in my sensations, my observer, I feel a lot of resistance. It's like this, like trying to move forward. And I felt like that for a while. The energy is getting more intense like that. And I believe it's the resistance of the world. I believe it's the resistance where a lot of us, even though what has been in power may not have completely matched our vibration or been what we would have wanted completely, I think we have tremendous fear about it breaking away. And so there's resistance. So whether it's like the defunding police or a new president or keeping the old president or a new way of looking at things or certain, you know, repackaging the syrup, whatever it is, there's a part of us that even if we didn't agree with it completely, we get fearful when we see it go away, when we see it break away. And I think that's what a lot of us are feeling. So I'm not sure if the fear we're feeling is fear of what we're seeing acted out on the world stage, or just a real innate fear within us of power and structure breaking away. And so you can say they're the same things, but they're different. One is a personal fear of harm to our physical being, and another is a fear of confusion, not knowing where to put our feet. What line do I get on? Where do I walk? No, they told me to vote this way. And we're fearful of that because in a large part we have constructed identities with that. And so that's why you see people out in the street revolting and revolution happening. We are in revolution in our country right now. But what is revolution? It's a flip over, it's a turnover. It doesn't have to be bad, you know? The last time we had a revolution, we became free from England and a lot of tyranny, and we were able to do and have opportunity for tremendous things. So that isn't so bad, right? So, you know, it's just a little painful to get there. So I think that we have to deal with our fear, and that's really what I think this is all about. And how does the universe work with us? It gives us reward, and it gives us challenge. And a lot of times when we're supposed to step into an energy to be rewarded and we don't get it, we're going to keep getting the challenge until we do. Not because God is a mean God, but because universe, God, the angels, whoever, want to help us to where we're supposed to be. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if we're fearful, but we're not stepping in to confront the fear, if we're fearful, but we're ignoring it, if we're fearful and going into denial, if we're fearful and wanting to take it out on other people, then we're not getting the message of the fear. We're not going to where the fear is supposed to bring us. And the fear of this breaking away of power is meant to bring us to a place where we accept it, we know it's real, this is not in charge anymore, nothing is in charge, what do we really want to put in this place? In order to ask ourselves that question, we have to accept what's happening. And a lot of us don't want to do that. And so that's why you have all this chaos. Like I said, when faced with the truth, usually we create chaos. That's what humans do. So I think we all need to go home, be quiet, pray, meditate, love, be silent, listen to ourselves, and find that place of what we really want to create in our own lives and in the world. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was that this eclipse and the solstice in Cancer is going to make us all very hypersensitive, sensitive to our own security, our own feelings, our own needs. It could make us very protective of our surroundings as well. So how do we deal with this energy? Just like I said, we want to go within. Listen, revolutions are not nice. Usually the culmination of them ends up to be someplace really great, but they're not nice. There's also an aspect that's happening around this solstice, which is something that not a lot of astrologers really use because it's really very, very advanced, and that's called septiles. And septiles are 7-pointed stars. Astrologers who are extremely advanced and use septiles in their work will tell you that normally when a septile comes in, it is very treacherous. It's an energy that is otherworldly. When a septile occurs in someone's chart, like someone who has a septile in their natal chart, Michael Jackson, he was otherworldly. He was almost, you know, foreign to us in what he could do. If you ever saw him live or actually saw him move, he didn't seem human. Such a talent, but otherworldly. And that's what septiles do. They're described as opening vortexes from the other worlds. And when the first plane hit the tower at 9/11, there was an exact septile. We have a partial septile coming in this weekend. It doesn't have to be treacherous in a bad way. It can be treacherous depending on how we interpret the energy. But they're otherworldly. It's usually when a septile happens, something crashes through the world. Something crashes through a dimension. That's what is believed to be anyway. And we have that happening in this weather, this astrological weather. So I think this is also about eclipsing our illusions. So whatever happens, it's like we're not going to be able to be in an illusion anymore. So I don't know what's going to happen. You know, that's the thing about Neptune and Pluto and Mars and especially Uranus. We don't know what we don't know. But what I can tell you when I go into the energy is there's a tremendous amount of resistance in the world right now, and we have to put love out there. It's more important than ever for us to bring that energy out into the world. I did a beautiful meditation last night with a group online and just brought in so much light to those people and wanting to bring that into the world. And I bring that to you tonight. And I'm going to end with a little bit of a meditation for those of you who want to stay on. The moral of the story is the astrology coming in is really, really tense. It's really, really tense. We are at a precipice of the energy can go either way. We can all spin the world the way we want it to by our own energy, but we have to be safe. So I wouldn't venture out to like a lot of crowded places just because I personally am taking a wait and see attitude with the COVID. Now they're saying in Florida that it's going up the cases again. I'm just taking responsibility for myself and my personal safety in many ways. I am definitely having situational awareness when I leave my home, not to be in fear, but just to be smart and know I'm observing what's going on. Oh, that's interesting. I think I'll go over here. Or, oh, that's interesting. This person needs help or whatever. Not having a judgment about it, but being aware. I also am watching my words and my actions very, very carefully. This is a time when words can really make a difference, especially with a lot of that Gemini energy, Venus and Gemini. So you really want to choose your words carefully, your postings carefully, your emails carefully, your texts carefully. When Mercury goes retrograde in Cancer, I misspoke and said Gemini before, that is going to really make sure that your words, everything are a certain way. That's how I'm handling the energy. But I think that some really big transformations are going to happen this weekend. I can definitely feel that, whether in our personal life or put a lot of light in your life. So I'm going to take 5 minutes now and I'm going to go into a meditation. If anybody has a question or comment they want to ask, you can put it in the box now. And I'm just going to do a drained and cranky. Yes, we're all feeling that way, Colleen. And I think it's definitely that resistance that I'm feeling. It's like, oh, we can't, like there's an immovable force meets the inanimate object. There's a lot of friction in the world. It's going to play out. And hopefully next week, things will move forward a little bit. So I'm just going to take like 3-4 minute meditation for you all. If you want to close your eyes and just breathe really deep. And what I would love for you to do is do a 4-second beat. We're going to hold our breath for 4 seconds by breathing in. So we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. Hold it there for 4 seconds and then breathe in again. So breathe in and hold breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 4 seconds. Pause for 4 seconds. Don't take a breath yet. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold 4 seconds. Out 4 seconds. Stillness for 4 seconds. And now just breathe in and out. Breathe in. Out. Let all the worries of the day just melt away. And now I ask you to surround yourself with beautiful white light. The light of creation. The light of unconditional love, the light of Creator. And as this light comes swirling in around you and you step into it like a beautiful misty cloud, allow it to embrace you in its warmth. Feel the white light surround you in infinity, evolution. Allow it to enter into every cell, every atom of your body, slowly penetrating your skin, your blood and bone, your atoms, your cells. And now allow the brightest part of this white light to rest in your heart center. Let it bring you joy, love, fulfillment, refreshing compassion. Feel the Creator's love. come to his table and be nourished with the bread of life, the food of the energy of Creator, unlimited, eternal love. Let it surround you, powerful, effervescent. Breathe it into your nostrils. Let it come up your sinuses, into your crown of your head, your third eye between the brow. You are glowing and vibrating with this beautiful, effervescent white light. Love, peace, compassion. And now take this beautiful white light and allow it to grow smaller and recede into your heart space till it's at a comfortable level for you. And keep this white light, this love of the Creator in your heart to be expanded anytime you need of it. This is the light of the world, the bread of life, Creator energy, which connects us all in love, compassion, unconditional love, protection, health. You are powerful. You are loved. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes or fingers and just come back into the space you're in. And please, Creator, allow that beautiful light, the love in our hearts, to go forward into all corners of the world, whoever may need it this evening, that they may know your compassion and the unconditional love that we have for all of your creatures. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions or anything for me, I will try to answer them. A lot's going to happen, and I think that, a lot's going to happen, and I think if we can stay in that love, and we can stay in the beauty of that space of light, I think everything's going to be okay, and we're all going to be okay. But we sure as heck are being tested right now, aren't we? So I'll be back next Thursday at 6:30. Can't wait to be back in the studio. It's getting challenging for me to keep these shows going all by myself. I'm going to try to look into some software this week so that I might be able to have some guests on. So thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in. You know, this is the energy I source my life from. I may do a meditation online Saturday if the spirit moves me. I don't know, so stay tuned on Facebook for that. But if anybody has any other questions, what I would strongly suggest doing is go to your charts, look at where Cancer is in your chart, what house it falls in. That's what's going to be affected very greatly with this energy. And also look at, when you do your meditations and you do your quiet times, look at what is coming up for you in your personal life. What is this triggering for you? All right? Thank you so much, everybody. I so enjoy doing these lives, and I hope that you enjoy them too. Feel free to share any of my posts or work. I love it when you share my work. That really helps me feel like maybe we're changing the vibration of the earth. So you're welcome, Lisa. I love you. Lisa Fazio, beautiful artist. If you're not her friend, friend her. She's had some amazing workshops. Working a lot harder than I am these days. Anne, I love you. Let's put peace in the world. All right. Aaron, I think you have Aries in your chart, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron, Mars is going into Aries, so you better be a good boy, because you're going to get wanting to but you'll be good. All right. Okay, thanks, everybody. I think that's our broadcast tonight. You can always message me if you have any questions. I feel like I don't want to let you guys go. Isn't that terrible? But I'm going to get booted off because Sally and Tony are after me on govsradio.com and Govs Comedy Club Radio on Facebook, and they have a special announcement that they're going to make. I know we're actually redoing the studio next month, so it may be about that. I don't know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.